colorful backdrops in the back.
Oh, yeah.
My mess of backdrops in the corner.
Not casual life.
Very casual. Alright, so we'll start off with your name. What is your name?
Tayseer.
Ah, Tayseer.
Yes.
I didn't know
I
this.
tell everyone Tay because we're in America. And everyone, instead of, I've had my name butchered a lot, so I don't want to put anyone through that again. So it's like, Tay, you could call me Tay. Oh, short for Taylor? No.
No,
I'm sorry, my name is foreign. It's Tay.
Tay.
So Tay, last name Zaidan.
Okay.
And they're like, oh, is Zaidan the football player? No, like, he's Zaidan, I'm Zaidan. But yeah, I guess, The last name is like, so my dad apparently told me like, our last name is like international.
Mm.
So it's like, it's Middle Eastern, it could be French, it could be like.
That's a nice ring to it.
Thank you.
Zaidan. Did I say
Is
right?
it
Zaidan?
Zaidan, you
Okay.
did, yes. And I don't think I used to be a fan of my last name because back in school they used to do like alphabetical order. So it's always be last. Z's, A, B, C, D, and that's like
I have to wait through all of this.
D, E, F, and me hoping like they'd call me by my middle name. So in our culture, our middle name is like the dad's name.
Oh,
So
interesting.
yeah,
Even if you're a girl?
Yeah.
Wow.
it's weird. I mean, I guess my dad could have chosen a unique middle name for me,
Mm-hmm.
but he just decided to use his name. I
Interesting.
don't know. I never knew how weird this was until like I grew up, and like people have told me, they're like, oh, for what? I'm like, yeah, that's my dad's name. They're like, oh, middle. I'm like, yeah. I didn't know else how to explain it.
Right.
It just is.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that just is.
Wow.
So yeah, Tayseer Zaidan.
Wow.
I'm from New York originally.
Nice.
Born there, but left out of there like early on, like during my teen years.
Oh wow.
Then I traveled to Dubai because my dad had an opportunity. He used to teach math and physics,
Wow.
and he had high hopes for me. It's like, Baba, we call Dad Baba.
Same.
So he's like, Baba, you'll be a doctor, or like, you'll teach kids. You'll be like a kindergarten teacher, teaching English.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, Baba. But now back home and I'm like, my God, no. But I grew up. Don't get me wrong. When I was younger, I did try the whole teaching kids thing. It wasn't for me. Kudos to anyone who does it though.
Yeah.
Like 2 thumbs up. But it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I didn't see myself. And then when I told my dad, he's like, what do you mean? They're only kids. I'm like, well, it's not what I like doing. He's like, if you don't. So like, it got real, not violent, but it got real like, I don't know, like kind of, well, not over the top, but it got kind of like real. He was real ecstatic about like what he wanted me to do.
Of course.
And I was ecstatic about what not to do.
Are you an only child?
I have 3 brothers.
Okay. Younger.
But I'm supposedly the eldest.
Oh.
But for some reason, that's hard to believe because like I'm literally like the shortest out of them, like 5 feet even. They're all like 6 feet and over. Wow. So I'm like,
Am I really the oldest?
yeah.
Am I?
At one point when I was like younger, I did think I was, I had a chance to like grow like height wise, but
Yeah.
this is as good as it gets. I think even.
That was me growing up too. I was like, oh, everyone in my family has big boobs. It's destined for me.
Yeah.
And then I grow up and I'm like, what the heck is this?
Oh, yeah, speaking of boobs.
Yeah.
Let's go that route. So when I was little, like I thought, it seemed like I got my growth spurt like really later on, because at age 11, 6th grade, age 11, everyone was up there like their build, the woman with their boobs, and the guys with their build.
Right.
And I'm like, still not there at all, like not quite there,
Right.
not quite there at all. And I'm like,
It's coming soon, right?
so like at one point, like I literally got some tissues.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it made a difference.
It did.
It felt like good.
Hey,
like,
for
dancing
the day.
around. But lo and behold, when it came to PE,
the truth comes out.
and we were like separate, like girls and boys.
Mm-hmm.
So when it came to like changing and stuff, I forgot that I had the
Oh,
tissue
no.
inside. So like I took it off. So like I changed my shirt, you know, took my bra off and changed it to my like gym clothes, and then the tissue fell, and then I tried. What I did was like I looked right and left. I'm like, did anyone see that? I'm like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's what's done is done.
It is what it is. That's
So,
honestly how all kids were, I feel like.
I did that for a good while
Yeah.
until that was, you know, that's it. I always tried getting like bras with like
The extra.
support,
Yep.
but I mean that could only work for so long.
Yeah.
Cause like here I am, I'm like slim, but then that is like it looks real off.
It's tricky.
unless like you've done like something to like you've done
Yeah.
something with a knife or something.
Right. But even that sometimes cannot look as authentic. And then I hear some horror stories of
Me
people
too.
who have the big ones, and you're like, man, like
Me too.
the back
They're like, oh, I
aches,
can't breathe.
Yeah.
I can't sleep right. Should I sit on my left? Should I sit on my right? They're like,
Right.
oh, you don't want big boobs.
And I'm
I'm like,
you know, maybe I
Wait,
do.
why? They're like, oh, but you know, like I can't sleep correctly and like sleeping position, and oh, I can't breathe. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
You're not exaggerating? Okay then.
Life is good then. We're good.
Okay, I'll take my little like peanuts.
Right. Yeah.
little acorns.
It's true though. It's true.
So
It's
that was
true.
that. And I grew up super, super shy. I didn't even used to be able to make eye contact. And look at me being able to do this now. I used to be like solely like, the teacher speaks to me, hey, you know, good morning, Tayseer. I was like, good morning. Or like not answering at all, not out of rudeness, but it's just.
Was it just like nervousness?
It was nervousness, and I think also the fact that, my dad told me that, hey, I was like that too. I was like, oh, maybe it's inherited.
Interesting.
Like, okay. Thanks a lot, Baba.
Yeah.
But I feel like I inherited a lot of stuff from my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, the shyness aspect. And then he told me, okay, he was shy when he was young, and then seeing him like all grown and stuff, like he's totally the opposite, you know,
Wow.
being like interacting with people and stuff, and then gradually I became the same.
Wow.
With like, you know, networking and like being a personal assistant to a fashion designer, and just like I think traveling to different places had me like, it was an eye opener.
Yeah.
So like, you know, California, I've been to Indianapolis
Oh wow.
a few months, Jordan, Dubai, places like these. It helped a lot.
Definitely.
It helped a lot. Shaping me into the person that I am now. Don't get me wrong, I still go through like little episodes of like
Everyone.
shyness, and like if I'm like in a group of people, sometimes I'm not sure how to approach people the correct way, or how to just start a normal conversation.
Right.
But I'm trying.
Yeah. And that's
I guess
all
that's
that
all I
matters.
can do.
Yeah, you just gotta keep trying, you know. Little by little each day, I think it
Hopefully,
makes
yes.
a difference.
Even though I'm a whole grown adult, but I guess we all have to come from somewhere, and we're all rapidly developing anyways, no matter what age you are. So
It's true. It's true.
I guess I'm in that stage right now. I'm still developing.
All of us. All of us. I think that's always an interesting, almost like misconception, is like, oh, when you're done with college, like you're done with school. School is
Right.
done. And it's like,
It's like,
It
yeah,
should
we'll throw you
never-
out into the world, like, there you go.
Yeah.
Fend for yourself.
figure it out, you know everything you need to know.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you should always be trying to learn something new, whether you're reading a book, whether you go to LA and then you see all this crazy stuff and you're like, oh, okay.
Exactly.
All right, this makes sense. All right, I'm learning something new. But like, you gotta always, in my opinion, always try to learn something from every instance that you have in life. You
Like,
know?
you could learn something from, literally from like kids age 5
You can.
to like, an elderly person aged 100.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just had
And
that.
everything in between.
Exactly. Exactly. The elderly ones I always find interesting too, because I've done a few projects recently working with elderly, and just having certain conversations with them where you're like, wow,
Yeah, sure.
I love this.
They go through a lot and
Yeah.
so much experiences, and it's just the way they see things is way different from us youthful,
Of course.
beings.
You just gotta be open to it. 'Cause I know as a kid sometimes you kind of see the older
Yeah.
people and they're like, son, don't do this. And you're
Exactly.
like,
Kind of,
you don't
like,
know anything, Dad.
you're like rebellious type, yeah.
Yep.
My dad totally used to be that way. And I was like, okay, you can't stay over this person's house. You can't go inside the cinema.
Yep.
Really bad stuff happened there. I'm like, but Papa, it's fun. I want to watch a movie. I'm like, he's like, go watch it on TV. He's like, that's why I bought you the TV. But certain movies, it's like, it's not having it.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, So it took me time to enter an actual cinema.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't even remember the age. I think my first cinema experience was age 22.
Really? Wow.
Sad.
Wow, but that's just, wow.
It's sad.
I don't know if it's sad.
Okay.
You know, it's one of those, like, it just is what it is. I wasn't
Yeah.
allowed to watch the Rugrats. Everyone watched the
What?
Rugrats. Yeah.
Oh!
My mom was like, these kids are bad kids. You can't watch this. And I was like, oh, okay.
It's like they're talking and always getting into mischief.
You know, yeah, you
Okay.
can't watch it.
That's why.
So,
I understand.
You know,
Ish.
it's one of those things. It's
Especially, yeah, Tommy's he's leading them into like some trouble every day.
you're right.
So.
You cannot watch this. They're terrible kids. I was like, okay. I mean, I get it. All right, that's
Mhm.
fine. You know, and I wasn't the rebellious type either to try and
Okay.
like watch things because I was too afraid of my mom. It's like
Mhm.
she's gonna come out, she's gonna beat me up. Like I'm good.
Like, senseless.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, never entered a cinema until I was that age.
Wow.
And then when I actually experienced it, I'm like, oh, wow, like I'm so mesmerized.
Right.
Like, wow, this big screen
Yeah.
projector, like, oh,
This is great.
like popcorn, like yeah, this is the life.
Yeah.
I'm like, why did my dad prevent me from all of this fun?
Did he
So-
ever tell you why he didn't want you to go to the movies?
I think so. He's like, so are you familiar with the word like haram?
I've heard the word.
Haram is like not permissible.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like, Baba, haram stuff happens there. I'm like, Baba, like what? He's like, none of your business.
Wow.
Oh my god.
That is funny.
He's something, like he was a ball of laughs. And don't get me wrong, sometimes like, I know this is weird to say, sometimes my dad really got on my nerves.
Oh yeah.
Really super.
Mm-hmm.
Because to the extent to like, when you want to have me like doing things or have me doing things, it's like, it just got so like, it just got so much, too much to bear. Because like everyone that I know used to like do the opposite.
Right.
They used to just live life, going to cinemas,
Mm-hmm.
hang out. I didn't used to like hang out. Well, I did hang out a lot as a kid,
Mm.
but it only used to be like either with my parents or like certain close friends of my parents.
I was just gonna say
etc.
that. Yep.
But otherwise, like me alone with friends.
Yeah.
No.
Let alone boys. If you're the only girl, it's like, oh, you want to go to the movies with them? No. And you're like, well, we're not gonna do anything. No. I was like,
well, what do you mean? I'm good. I'm a good girl. I'm a good girl. What do you?
don't you trust in what you taught me? No, you're not going anywhere. You're like,
I'm like, well, but you instill within me certain values, right?
absolutely right.
He's like,
No. He's like, I didn't know. You just gotta know. That was my cinema experience. I was like maybe a teenager, and I remember after work, I made plans with like the kids at work, and I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna go watch Talladega Nights in the movie theater. That was my plan. Yeah, I was like, it's gonna be a funny movie, and all of us are goofballs. Let's go do it. I was like maybe 16, 17, and my mom usually would pick me up from school or pick me up from work. And that day, my freaking dad comes to pick me up, and I was like, dude, like my mom will take me, but my dad no. And I was like, oh my god, like we're gonna go to the movies, like that's the plan for tonight. He's like, no, it's not. And I was like, yeah, that's like I made the plan and they're on the way. Like we're, you know, we got the 9:30 spot. Like I already told him. He's like, you're not going anywhere. You're going home. And I was like, oh, I threw a whole fit over the whole thing. And it finally reached a point where my mom jumps in and she was like, well, if I go with her, will you let her go? And she was like, yes. And I was like, so my mom snuck in the movie theater after I got into the movie theater, paid for her own ticket, and sat in the nosebleeds, and then left before everybody. So ridiculous. I was like, what's the logic?
That's how. It's like everything that I don't know. They're on another level.
On another level, especially when it comes to daughters, I think it's definitely like a different level. They're like protective. You're going with who? No, you know.
Or what time? What time are you going? What time are you coming back? Wait, with who?
Right.
Okay, give me their number.
What's their parents' numbers?
Like, give me their number. I'm like, Baba, you're actually gonna come with mother? Like, what?
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, Baba, why? Yes.
That is so funny. My mom would do the same. I mean, she still does it with my brother. My brother's 19. She's like, oh, you're going to go to so-and-so's house? Well, you better give me their parents' phone numbers or give me their phone numbers. And it's like, why? She's like, well, if you decide to drink or do anything, I need to know where you're at. And he's just like, dude, like, let me live. But
and that continued on for the longest, like, for me, that continued on for the longest time. Now that I'm older, I kind of get where he's coming from, kind of.
For sure.
Not 100%. Like, mom just brought me up so many fun stuff. But
right.
Now I can do that.
So now you're like, whatever.
I'm not playing catch up.
Right.
So,
Your dad, where was your dad from?
So my dad, originally he's from, so like it was a mix of places. His dad was like Turkish, but he's from like Iraq.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's why he decided to teach me Arabic.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you gotta learn your alphabet.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was at age 6 or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna teach you the Arabic alphabets. And like remember as kids we had that tracing paper?
Love it. Mm-hmm.
And like you would kind of like he'll dot the letters and like you'll have to go over it.
Yep.
That's what happened initially.
Wow. And he was teaching you.
Yeah, he was teaching me the
I
letters.
love that. My mom was like, go to Greek school, and I was like, I hate this. And I hated Greek school because I already spoke the language, and they'd be teaching people like, how do you say lion? And I'd be like, I already know. Like, why am I here? You know?
Yeah.
She's like, well, you need to learn the letters, and I'm like, okay, just teach me the letters.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know the letters. She's like, I only know how to speak. That's why I'm sending you over there.
Okay. Fair enough.
The logic. I was like, okay, whatever.
Say something. Yeah, he used to teach me that until like I got real like semi-fluent and also being able to read in Arabic. So for Arabic we went from like right to left.
Wow.
As opposed to like English left to right.
Right.
So it used to be confusing to me a bit, but I think I slowly got the hang of it because by then even when I used to like tune into the news or like there used to be like subtitles or like reading newspaper in Arabic, I used to like by default just like skim over the words written and like read to myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dang.
And like I'm kind of glad that I'm not, and not that I was just relying on one language.
Yeah.
It's good not. I mean, this is my opinion. It's good to not rely on one language.
Yeah, I think so too.
Have a couple under your belt, like English, Arabic. I know a bit of Spanish too. So.
You're right. I'm like, poquito español. That's all.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, wow, you know Spanish. I'm not fluent.
Wait. Calm down. Slow down.
Wait. I'm not Latina. I used to get mistaken for a Latina.
Oh, yeah.
As well.
Oh,
So,
man.
but it's not like I'm flattered. Like, oh wow, you think I'm
Right.
pretty, isn't it?
Okay,
Good.
I'll take it.
Nice. But yeah, hopefully one day I want to really get fluent in Spanish as well.
In due time.
And I think I'm in the right place, like California.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's I always want to kind of make a friend group to where you can all practice and talk together.
That'd be nice.
But then at the same time, I'm like, but do the native Spanish speakers want to speak Spanish to me? They're probably gonna be like, I don't have patience for you.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. Like I don't have time. Like just go
figure it
go
out.
like Duolingo or something,
Right.
or Bible or whatever. Use that.
Right.
Get a dictionary from like the flea market.
Right. Don't bother me with this, okay? But if you find someone, or if I find someone,
That would be like
we'll have a
that'd be
little
it.
group. Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
It would be fun. So you were about 6 years old when you started learning the alphabet, but did your dad speak his languages to you?
Oh yeah. So basically, daily we used to speak English and Arabic, so we used to mix like English Arabic type. And it used to work for us because that's how we learn, or with everything, I guess that's how we learn to apply yourself
For sure.
and use it. So it worked for us, and then I spoke Arabic pretty well until I guess with everything, if you don't use it as much, you kind of lose it. So now I'm kind of losing it ish.
Have you found any group of friends here that you can practice with, or not so much, or family? I don't know.
Oh, I came across some coworkers, but unfortunately their Arabic is like zilch. They just know, like, I guess, like saying hi, marhaba, and really simple stuff like dad, baba, mom. That's it. So unfortunately theirs is like, I don't know what level to call it, even like below the basic.
So it's hard to even practice with.
Yeah.
I see.
But I still think I'll come across,
You will.
some people. I realized also, like, there are people who are not like Middle Eastern who still know how to speak Arabic, like they taught themselves. So that could always be an option.
That is true. And if they have any sort of like festivals or events, I feel like that becomes a little bit helpful too. Cause I went to and I shot for a restaurant actually, and then I looked at the guy and I saw his last name and I was like, he's definitely Greek. Like, come on. And so like I'm talking to him in English. I take so much pride in just talking to actual Greeks in English and then surprising them at the end. I don't know.
You know what? I'm so the same.
Yeah.
Because like I work at a restaurant and I come across so many people. So sometimes I can kind of tell with like their accent.
Absolutely.
Even though they speak English, I could tell. So I tell them, okay, it's open seating, and then I go in Arabic. I ask them, do you speak Arabic? Like تتكلمين عربي? And they're like taken back. They're like yeah,
I got you.
It feels good. It's fun.
It is fun.
It's fun catching people off guard in a good way, because I think that's one of the things that LA is good for. Like,
yeah, definitely
catching people off guard and like just the element of surprise.
Yeah, especially with your language, like you're saying, certain ways that people speak, you can tell off the bat, and you're like, you're from somewhere over there. I don't know where, but I think.
Okay.
We'll try this one, and you're like, okay, cool.
It's fun.
It is fun. I enjoy it. Switching it up every now and then.
It's great, and that's like LA is pretty international, so
it is.
I feel like there's always an opportunity for that.
Yeah, definitely.
Whether you're shooting like yourself or
at
a restaurant. Or just
right. But that was what helped me, at least, is that I met him and then I surprised him off guard and I was like, do you speak Greek? And I remember he was giving me kind of attitude because he was just kind of like, he was young, but he was like, oh, like, are you going to take the photos? Another photographer. And then when I spoke to him Greek, he like lit up and he was like, what? And he like brings me to the kitchen. He's like,
family.
She speaks.
It's your family.
Yeah, come in. Could you tell? And I'm like, oh my God. He's like, I'm just shocked by it. And it's like, I mean, I'm not shocked because, we're here, but it's funny.
It's just that people don't really think. Because they're taking you at face value, so they don't think like, oh, okay, maybe she could be from that culture or that
Exactly. So it was funny. And then with him, I ended up going to a Greek festival and he was there.
Nice.
And then he introduced me to other people.
Oh,
and then that helped a lot with just finding a group. And I actually went out with him and my other friend that I made out here through him yesterday.
That's so fun. Did you like dancing?
Yeah, for sure. But there was no Greek music at this event place, but it's like, with the Greek dancing, I'm all about it. It's like when the tents are set up at festivals, I'm like, that's where I'm going to be. I'm not going to be over here. I'm over there.
I never even knew like there were such festivals.
Yeah. And they get really, really fun.
Wow.
It's just the music. I mean, in the music, I'm assuming it's probably pretty similar as far as just like the beats and the drums.
Yeah, that's what I noticed. It's so funny because they're like many of the countries, like it's like it crosses cultures. So it's like I've heard even Japanese music one day. I'm not sure what it's called. It's like a harp, but it's not stood upright. It's like
a
face
hand
down.
I think I know what you're talking about. I don't know what it's called though.
I forgot what it's called.
Yeah.
If anyone could help me.
Write it in the comments.
Write in the comments.
Yeah.
But and it sounds like something that I'd hear from like Persian music or Middle Eastern music. So I I mean, it's so amazing that stuff crosses.
It is.
Cultures like that.
In their own ways, and you can just tell, like, okay, this is maybe native to this area,
Yeah.
this is native to this, and like we were talking a little bit earlier about the foods, it's like, wow, like everyone's kind of got their own thing going.
Exactly.
It's very
And also, like, similar, like, I'm sure you've tasted baklava.
Oh, yeah.
Touchy.
Yeah.
The cucumber with yogurt.
Yep.
So good.
Yeah.
My dad had that every day.
Mhm.
He used to have that every day, and he used to instill within us, you know, Baba, it's good for the digestive system.
Yeah, that's true.
It makes you feel really relaxed, and it does.
Yeah.
After I had a heavy meal, or even if I didn't have a heavy meal, it's so relaxing.
Right.
It just puts you at ease.
Yeah.
I feel good right now.
It's like the cooling mixed with like the garlic that's good for you,
The
and
garlic.
the yogurt with
Oh
your
my
stomach
God.
health. It's like, it's actually a really good.
So, it's like, ooh.
I never thought about it. How many elements there are to that you're like, yeah, this is pretty good.
The garlic too?
Yeah.
Oh my god, my dad loves garlic.
Garlic
He lives
yeah.
on it.
Yeah, that's like one of those like add more.
Oh
They
my
have those
God.
memes that I see all the time, and it's like
Add more
recipe says
garlic.
1 garlic, and you're like 17. You know?
My dad's the same with garlic and onion.
Yeah.
Those two especially.
The best. The best.
And what else? It's a lot of similar cultures.
Mm-hmm.
Like similar food, I'm sorry, in different cultures.
Right. Right.
And I love that because it makes for good conversation too.
It
like
does.
baklava, love baklava. It gets sometimes like I could probably fill up on like 2 pieces because it's
It's
so filling.
It
right?
is filling.
The
It's
sugary
pretty thick.
aspect, and
Mm-hmm.
that either it could be stuffed with pistachios, and I just realized some people stuff it with walnuts.
Mhm.
I'm more of the pistachio type.
I don't know if I've ever had the pistachio one.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Which one
I
do
think
you-
usually it's the walnut one that I
Really?
have.
Okay.
So that's it's interesting that it's like different
Oh.
regions might have it native differently. It's like
Yeah.
it's pistachios. I love pistachios.
The one with the walnuts is so good. I've had it in have you heard of Anwar's Kitchen?
I've seen it, but I can't remember where I've seen this place. Where is it?
Probably online. But it's on. Oh my god, I forgot where it is. It's close by Living Foods.
Okay.
Is that
Yes.
what's called Living?
Yeah, there's one that's right there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like 8th Street, I think.
Yeah, I think it's so it's across from it. If I'm not
Wow.
mistaken, or 3 blocks away from that.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it's I tried their walnut baklava. It's so good.
Gosh. Dessert is always so good. And there's a bunch of different ones that they have, you know, in all these
There is.
different places. And it's interesting, even something so simple. I don't know if you guys have this, but we have this thing called kurabieves, and they're like white cookies with powder on top.
You know what?
But Mexicans have it too, and I'm like,
We have the white cookies.
Mhm.
We stuff them with dates.
oh wow.
It's,
That
we
sounds
call
good
it we call it clecha.
Ah.
We stuff it with dates and or walnuts.
Ah. And is there powdered sugar on top or no?
Sometimes.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
See, it's like the desserts,
It's
they're
so
all like,
similar.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
interrelated.
It
And
is.
if people tend to if people were to tune in more into that,
Mhm.
it would be like the world would be
A better
so
place.
great.
You know?
For
Even the
everyone.
foods though, I always find interesting because it's like there's a lot of similarities, but sometimes even just the spicing is different.
Absolutely.
So it's like I'll have like, let's say like a Greek shish kebab or something, you know, we'll have it and it's like, oh, this is good. And then it's like you go somewhere else and you're like, they're not Greeks making it, but like there's a different flavor profile, but it's
Exactly.
still just as good. And you're like, it's
Yeah.
the same thing, but it's still different.
Still
like the
great.
pistachios and the walnuts, you're like,
Yeah.
it's good, but it's different.
Yeah, it's like I
Wow.
like pistachios more, but walnuts were really good too.
Right, exactly.
Have you ever had dolma?
Yes, the stuffed grape leaves. I love those.
Also, in our culture, we go a step further and we stuff. We take peppers and stuff peppers.
Yep,
stuff
we
the
do.
onions,
Those are so good.
tomato.
So good. And you
Like
put that in the oven. Is that the one you're talking
Yeah.
about? Ah, those were my favorite. Oh my god.
Oh
So good. You know? Gosh. I wish my mom would have taught me a little bit more on the cooking. I think she was so
Yeah.
big on like, I'm gonna cook and we're gonna make everything good.
Exactly.
And she'd make parties with 70 people and like, oh yeah, let's have a good time. I
Yeah.
cooked everything. But I'm like,
Well,
she never sat and taught me. She was like, no, you just
taught me
go.
how to do this and that.
Yeah.
'Cause it's like really good food. Like,
It is good food. It is good food. And I feel like it's almost a responsibility, especially when you've had parents that are from those places, to like really put an effort to learn these things. Because I feel like they get lost, you know?
they do.
You know?
They get lost in like the burgers and the fries and the pizza.
Exactly.
Because like My favorite food, because I don't know, maybe because I'm from New York, is like pizza.
Pizza's good.
But I don't think I've had any pizza that's similar to the ones I had in New York.
Wow.
Shout out to Purgatory though. Purgatory pizza.
I like Purgatory too.
Nice. Alright. Shout out to Purgatory pizza. They really know how to, like, everything from it being like a really thick pizza to their ingredients to the freshness.
They usually do
Just have it
really good job.
on point.
I think so too.
Yeah, they
I
really.
probably feel the same.
Yeah,
My
they-
boyfriend's like, I'm not really a fan of Purgatory, and I'm like, what? He's like, I think you just don't like the higher prices. I think that's all it is. But I'm like, it's good.
Purgatory's high enough.
They're like regular price to me. I don't know. But for him, he's like, oh, it's a little high, and I'm like, you're not gonna get a $2 slice.
That's the thing.
It ain't gonna work that way, okay? Especially here, like gas is $7. Like,
So
they ain't gonna make
here we
pizza
are.
any cheaper than that.
Exactly. It was so good. Yeah. I haven't tasted a pizza that comes quite close to that, Purgatory pizza.
Yeah.
So.
Respect to Purgatory.
Purgatory pizza, shout out!
Hey,
Get us some
endorsements. Sponsor us. Free pizza, please.
People love so.
Man. In New York, you stayed there for about how long?
So I was born there, and then I stayed there up until like my early teen years.
Okay, that's right.
So like about 16.
Wow. Was it hard to make that transition from being 15, 16 to going to now a foreign country completely?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so funny because I never thought I'd leave New York, because like New York literally has everything, especially the area that I was in, Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's true.
Like on my left-hand side, on the corner, there was the subway.
Mm-hmm.
A few blocks further, the Brooklyn Public Library,
Mm.
and then a lot of convenience stores wherever you go. And
Everywhere.
also the food aspect, it's like they're so varied.
Right.
You get the Polish, you get the Russian, you get things that don't even cross your mind.
Absolutely.
They have it there.
Yeah.
So,
So close in proximity too.
exactly.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
So that to the extent that you don't even, people own cars, but you don't have to.
Yeah. That's
You
true.
get by on foot, on subways.
Right. Because the subways get you basically
Yeah.
anywhere.
Exactly.
Right.
So you don't need to go the extra mile and own a car
That's true.
if you don't.
And if you do own a car there, it's expensive too. Because I've seen people like renting their parking spots, and they're like $700, and I'm like, that's rent. What? What?
Exactly.
You know, you might as well walk at that point. Everyone had beautiful cabs. Every time I go to New York, I pay attention to their legs, and I'm like, oh my God, from the up and down the
I didn't
subway.
even notice.
Next time you go, just look, you're like, wow, they got some nice legs. These people.
It's like, well, walking and stuff. Getting to and from.
I mean, going up and down the stairs in subways, you know, it's
Right.
like, oh man.
Yeah, to and from like the bookstore to the bagel shop. Oh, I love bagels.
Oh,
I'm
bagels are
addicted
so
to
good.
bagels.
Yeah.
We had the poppy seed, the everything bagel, the onion, the garlic,
Mhm.
the sesame.
So good. If you haven't tried, there's a place called Brooklyn Bagel.
Okay,
Actually, which is kind of ironic. It's called Brooklyn Bagel. It's right off of, it's either Beverly or it's 3rd Street. And it's the opposite way of downtown. So you gotta kind of
Beverly
go
and
away.
3rd. Okay.
Beverly or 3rd. It's
Brooklyn,
one of
that's
those.
called Brooklyn Bagel.
Brooklyn
I'll
Bagel,
look it up
yeah.
for
And
sure.
that's been our spot.
Yeah, 'cause,
Pretty tasty.
man, I used to. So for when I was younger,
Mhm.
I used to have like bagels every morning, either with butter or with cream cheese, depending on my mood.
Right.
And I loved how they used to do that, and they used to cut it in half. So
Mhm.
it just for ease of use, so like you could have a
Grab a
bite.
piece and
Yeah.
keep going type thing.
And I used to have that because in when I was in school, I think it was junior high, we used to have a chemistry course. So in chemistry, you used to have half of the period where you get chemistry class, and the other half of the period where you were on break and you could eat whatever,
Right.
your lunch or your snacks or anything. So
Mhm.
that used to be my favorite part of the day.
Having
Just
bagel.
having a bagel. I used to have bagel wrapped with the box paper, small bag of chips. That used to be a quarter back then. What's going on with the world?
A quarter.
Imagine that.
It's a long time.
One of my favorites used to be either the I think it was the corn chips or like the onion rings.
Those were good too.
And only a quarter, like this big of a bag, a quarter.
Yeah,
Can you
now the
imagine?
bags are like this big.
They're
and
so
they're like
compressed.
$1.25.
So compressed, and you get like maybe 2 chips if you're lucky,
Ah,
and it's mostly air.
right.
Just
Mostly.
enjoy the air. That's all.
Smell
Like
it.
the
Smells
most.
good, huh?
That's it. And I also either like a high C, or they call it the quarter waters. So the quarter waters are like this small, but they're basically like different colored flavored like juices.
Okay.
Like you get the blue, the red, the purple. Yeah, they call it quarter waters.
Yeah, I haven't seen those. The high C I did. The high C I liked a lot.
I love high C so much.
Straight sugar, but it was so good.
I see, just like pop that straw in and like, oh, Capri Sun.
So good. So
Used to
good.
be into Capri Sun as well.
Yeah.
Used to get, my parents used to get that big, family pack.
Yep.
That box.
Yep.
Just go all out every day.
Every day I'll make Capri Suns.
That's all. Kind of miss those days.
Yeah, those days were good. We didn't have to really worry too much and like kind of go. But it's interesting to see. It's like in those times that felt so carefree. We had parents that were working, but were probably really stressed out.
Exactly.
Especially because like I'm the same as you. It's like first kid of the family, and so it's just like you're thinking like life is great.
First kid, and it's like, oh, we're girls. Like
yeah.
On top of that, so it's like trying to like preserve us and encase us in this like
For sure.
cocoon maybe.
Yep.
So it used to be
Careful. Don't look at people. All that stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure it used to be hard on them, but like also us, like used to be so hard. Like just like trying to live life as I don't know, conveniently or just normally as possible. But then lo and behold, you can't do this, you can't eat that, you can't watch this.
Rugrats.
Rugrats. So I watched all the trash TV on Jerry Springer, Ricky Lake, Haunted Williams.
See, the Jerry Springer, I did that one time and I learned my lesson. My mom was like, oh, don't watch this channel during the daytime. And I was like, okay. And I think I was sick or something. And it was on. And I was like watching upstairs. And then I remember they had like some stripper show up. And like she was going like full nude on the screen. And I like freaked out. And I was like, this is why she doesn't want me to watch this. And I like went downstairs and I was like, Mom, I'm sorry, it was on. I felt so guilty.
Man, I'm playing you. I used to, I think, watch, what's it, I forgot what that show was called. It's like a soap show, like a soap opera show. What is it?
Oh my gosh.
Days of Our Lives.
Okay, there you go. I was like, Young and the Restless?
I'm like, yeah, I think it was that too.
Yeah.
Like, but I have no business like watching it. Someone, like, drama every day.
Yeah.
They're yelling at each other like every minute. So it's like, yeah, but I don't know, like I kept tuning in for a while.
You're like, I gotta watch this because I'm not allowed to watch this.
Okay.
So
Maybe I should tune in as best as I can. Yeah, but yeah, I watched all the trash TV, Mari.
all that stuff.
No, not the father.
Yeah.
The camera goes out running.
Every time. That's what I don't understand. Like, why are we running?
I don't.
And where are you running to?
Just
You don't know the studio.
Yeah, it's like being extra, I guess. I don't know. Maybe that was the case. But I mean, yeah.
In hindsight, it just cracks me up. You are not the father. Dips out.
That's
real
it.
quick. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was fun for a while. The highlight of my Saturdays used to be just waking up early morning. Used to be one Saturday mornings.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of that?
Mm-mm.
So it used to be like, I think on ABC or something. It used to be like cartoon, like one after the other. But they start like really early in the morning, like at 7 or 8.
Mm.
And I used to tune in with my bowl of cereal, and that used to be like it.
That was it.
You know, so,
The highlights.
yeah.
But it's just always interesting just to see. It's like we're saying, it's like there's a lot of good memories that kind of came from growing up, no matter I think how hard our parents may have been on us.
Sure.
So like you can't do this, you can't do this, all that type of stuff. And it's just interesting to see, I guess, that perspective as you grow up. There's like there's a respect that comes with it, and being like, wow, like thank you so much for being strict or being around or playing with me or going.
Exactly, and yes, there are many areas or aspects that I do appreciate, like, hey, they didn't, suppose we did this or that, like drugs, things like that.
Right.
So I'm thankful for that. But also, yes, I do feel like I missed out on a bunch of stuff.
Especially when you compare to some other friends that you may have, you're like, man,
I'm like,
they're
already
doing
like
this.
this stuff, and they're already doing that, and they already have their ears pierced.
Yep.
I'm like, Mama, I want my ears pierced. It's like, you're not gonna look like a cow. How did he? Oh my! How did he put put the two together.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
The only one I get is the nose, because I feel like they actually have that on the cows, but the ears, it's like, wait.
But I'm like, well, it looks pretty.
Yeah.
So I believe when I was 12 or something, my mom took me to get my ears pierced. And it hurt for a minute, but the studs that they got was nice looking. So I'm like,
look at me.
yeah. And the guy's like, you got your ears pierced? I'm like, yeah, Mama said it was okay. So they can say anything after that.
Yeah.
That was that.
If mom says it's okay, it's okay.
That's it.
That's good.
So that was that. All well and good.
It sounds like your dad was more strict and your mom maybe not so much.
Yeah.
Was your mom from over there as well? Or?
Yes, my mom was from there as well. She, at one point, well, if I were to compare the two, like my mom and dad, my dad, his English was, up there.
Mm.
My mom had a bit of, issue, struggle. She was struggling a bit with English. And for a while she did take lessons, English lessons. And then I don't know what happened after that. Maybe she just got out of that, I don't know. But yeah, so that's why we used to communicate with her in English and Arabic.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess, like the radio helped, TV helped as well.
I've heard that.
So, yeah, but I don't know if at one point she got real fluent or not.
Mm.
But, yeah, our family was pretty, we were pretty good. Would I consider myself privileged? Yes, but it seemed like there was a point where it all went all wrong because my parents they divorced when I was, I think, 14 or 15.
Wow.
So I'm like, I don't know. It was a huge I don't know. It was like someone punched my head real hard because it's like oh wow, all of that, all of what we went through and everything, and now it's like it has come to this. I'm like, and then I kept imagining how how they portray divorced couples on TV and stuff. I'm like, oh wow, I'll have to live with one of them and then try to visit the other every now and then. So yeah, they divorced. We were trying to, I guess myself and my brothers were trying to get it to be to the point where no, how on TV, remember the good times and you're so good together and Mama, please, I'll tell Baba to do this more, or Baba, I'll tell Mom to do that more. And but yeah, it didn't. It didn't help. And they divorced for good. I don't know if I should go into detail or.
And that part is up to you, but I'm sure that when you're young, when you see that type of stuff, it's definitely it's tricky.
Tricky and triggering and.
Yeah, so we don't have to go into it.
Yes, it wasn't any fun.
Yeah.
But I'd like to sometimes remember my mom and dad for who they are.
Of course.
As opposed to okay, the divorce and it shouldn't have that shouldn't have happened and that really broke us, etc., etc.
Right.
So I guess it's funny how the psyche works.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess in my psychologically speaking, I just tend to at times remember the good times.
Of course.
As opposed to where it all went wrong.
Yeah.
So I guess I want to hold on to that, for dear life. Cause,
of course.
Because otherwise, I'm not saying that I'll, be all broken apart right now, but maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe
no,
so.
For sure.
So, yeah, it was different experiences. Being raised by my mom and dad, and then all of a sudden just by my dad.
Yeah.
So, and then speaking of that, my dad recently passed. About a year or so ago, and it was so hard. How excuse me, when you lose someone, you go through, they call it the stages of grief.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I don't remember all the stages, but I went through a lot of denial.
Yeah.
I'm no, he isn't gone. I'll hear from him in a few minutes from now.
Right.
Either on the phone or whatever. And what's funny is that every time I went out, I thought I saw him.
Wow.
Wow. It's like, I don't know, am I losing my marbles right now? What is happening?
Right. But especially when you have certain connections with people, I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
it definitely does that, you know, and it can happen for years and years and years afterwards too. It's a very weird spiritual thing almost.
It's so crazy because like like near the end, before he passed, like he used to, I remember that big, like he used to hunch over and have a cane, so that like I recently saw someone that really like looked like him, like he was hunched over with a cane, so I had to like do a double take. I had to like blink numerous times. I'm like, when I was about to approach him, I'm like, Tay, what are you?
Yeah. Wake up again.
Step back, like,
right.
You know, just wake up. You know, you're here.
Yeah.
You know, you're in the real world. You know, wake up.
Right.
You know, come back to your senses.
But that's another thing that's also fascinating is that there are people that will remind you of certain people that you see, and like it's a very weird experience of just like, wait a minute, and then you feel weird because you're staring at them. Like,
exactly, yeah.
You know, you're like, I'm sorry, but you look like
this. I was staring at them.
Yeah.
And thank God, you know, that elderly person had his mind elsewhere. So
yeah, he wasn't paying attention. Yeah.
But also like certain smells.
Right.
Like so certain smells like. For example, the bakery or pizza,
it has a memory.
Yeah,
comes
so
back.
It helped me think of like when we were in New York, and then New York, my dad, etc., etc. Dad used to love dried fruit, dried nuts.
Oh, nice.
So that now whenever I come across dried fruit or nuts, it's like
whoa.
It's like, oh my god, dates. I used to love dates. Whenever I saw dates or dates with almonds, it's like, oh, that's Bob's favorite. I'm like, oh, I could give him some.
Right. You're like, wait,
he's gone. Okay, I give him some.
Right.
And I don't know. At times, I feel like it bothers me. Mostly at night.
Yeah.
Like it comes to me at night.
Yeah.
Right when I'm, about to head to bed or something. So that it could be midnight and I could be laid up in bed, but my eyes are like just like wide open.
Right.
And my mind is like drifting,
thinking about all these other things.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So it's like, I'm like, I want to sleep.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to lose my mind.
I don't want to sit here and think about this
like,
stuff. Right.
It could be like 12:30, going on to 1. Okay, still haven't slept.
Right.
And then I guess gradually just my mind gets tired of like drifting and stuff, so that
then you finally sleep, sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very real thing.
And I'm like, I used to like for a minute I only let certain people know that hey, my dad has passed, because like I guess I don't know what the reason was. That is, I guess because I don't want to come across as like real like fragile or like vulnerable, because I'm not vulnerable with just anyone. But it just felt nice to like share that with some people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I heard that if you keep certain things bottled up, then it might like really destroy you. Then
it can. So, it really can.
I'm like, it might be better to just come out with it and just talk about it. Yeah. And again, I guess what bothers me at times, like I don't want to come across as like just venting, going off on a tangent and just like annoying that person, whoever I'm talking to.
Just remember though, if you're annoying them, they'll probably let you know and be like, hey, I gotta go. Yeah. So it's like I wouldn't add that extra sense of stress either in those circumstances, because it's like, you know what, people really do care and people do really want to listen. And even like this, it's like I relate. I remember I walked into an elevator a few years back, and this woman, again with smells, was wearing this perfume of my brother's godmother, and my eyes started watering, and I was like, the heck is going on? Like chills, like I was so weirded out in this elevator because it was like, whoa, like I have not smelled this perfume in years. And it's just like you're saying, it takes you back, and it's like, I'm sorry if I sound like a freak, but like you smell really good. What is this perfume again? Just so I remember,
Exactly.
And it's crazy, the power of certain senses or the power of certain stances or just seeing things.
It's just surreal.
Right.
For a while, I used to play my dad's last recording, where
that's
where he
rough.
where he in our language in Arabic he was like he said it in such a frail way. I don't want to say like that's like a prelude to him passing, but it's like it sounded like it, and it was so like he said it in this like real frail sort of shaky way. He was like, hey Tayseer, how are you? And he said it in Arabic. Oof, so like.
Right, I'm like, I get you, yeah.
And I kept like replaying it, but I feel like it could be a comfort and it could also destroy me because like the more I play it, the more it could get to me, and the more like it could, let's say, stagnate me from like just making the most of my life, moving forward. I just said so. I'm like tearing up right now too.
Yeah, I know. I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, man, yeah.
It's just like it's heavy.
It is heavy,
and I'm sure many of us have lost someone.
Of course.
And it's just like, I'm not saying lucky, it's something that, typically happens, but it may be, but every one of us reacts to it differently.
Yeah.
So, that's how I chose to react. Like, sure, I went through denial and acceptance, but not right away.
Yeah.
I still look back at it. I still think about it, still think about him. And I don't want to say I beat myself up, but I guess sometimes like, okay, what if I were, like I should have been there for him more and done this more and done that.
Of course.
And oh my God, I should have been there in his last days. But it's like, I guess at this point, it's like the only thing to do is just, praise in a better place.
Of course.
And
move forward in a way that you still kind of live out him.
Exactly.
In your own sort of way. Yeah. They always say, and it depends on if you're religious or not. Everyone has their own thing, but it's like even on the bare principle where people always say like, this person passes away, but they live on forever. Right. It's a very poetic statement because it's like it's not just like a picture that you took. It's like through you, through your siblings, through his friends, through all these people. These people do live on. There's certain things that people teach you that will be invaluable in life. And if you just go and live your life the best way that you can and remember those things that these people teach you, you then pass it on to your kids or to the next person. And it's a very beautiful, poetic thing.
It's like it's funny because in many things that I do now, I see myself in him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like for example, he used to have a cleft chin, and I got that from him.
Oh really?
It's like kind of like I don't know. To me, it's kind of masculine, but okay.
Actually, one of my best friends actually has one as well.
Yeah.
And she's always was like, I hate someone to feel this in, but I'm like, literally, you, your dad, and your mom have that. Like, and it looks beautiful on you. Like, don't.
And I never thought it was like from hidden, but I did think it was like real masculine. I'm like, okay, was I a boy in my past life? But that's what I carried from him. Also, his taste in food, like he likes dried food and nuts and stuff. I inherited that from him.
Right.
For a while, I used to. So sometimes when I'm really like tired and I'm too lazy to get into bed, I used to like sleep like this, like crawl into just crawl and like sleep. So like in almost fetal position.
Right.
He used to do that.
Wow.
And
he was flexible.
I think he said his mom should do that too. So I'm like wow. It's like really random things.
Right.
But all things that I inherited from him.
Right. It's very interesting. When you dig deep and figure those things out, you're like,
And I never like thought about it like that. But he used to mention it every now and then. But now, like that's gone. I'm like, oh, it's actually a couple of things that I inherited from him.
Right. You're like, that's pretty interesting.
Very.
It's
like,
okay, that's cool.
But yeah, he's as much as he got on my nerves.
Yeah, of course, and that's everybody. Me, I had a grandma who passed away maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and I mean, she was one of the reasons that I definitely wanted to move out because I mean, she had reached a point where she was like upper 80s, 90s, and I was like, I'm a teenager. She's just kind of there, and like, she has her crumbs everywhere. And, you don't understand it as you're growing up. Of like, this is just a part of life. Like elderly people, that's what they do. They kind of revert to being almost a young kid at that age.
Like an infant form.
Right. And I didn't really comprehend that. So it's like I moved out and I didn't really go back to visit her as much or my mom as much because I was, I'm 18 and I'm living life. Woo.
Yeah. Like an adult finally, woo.
Yeah.
Time to break out.
Yeah, exactly. And especially when you have the foreign parents, you're like, oh, like I'm breaking out of this foreign chokehold.
For me, it was like can't wait till I'm 20 something, 30. But I guess all of us,
different stages. For sure. But again, it's one of those things of like you didn't go back and you didn't start feeling certain things, but at the same time, it's like you gotta move forward, just keep doing your best, and then again taking note of those things and the people that you genuinely care for, like doing your best to make that effort to see them, hang out with them, have conversations with them, and it's an eerie thing, but for me, it's photos and videos of them as well. It's like jokes of my dad doing things, jokes of my mom doing things, my brother, and like before my grandma had passed, actually, I had a very I was like, I have to get a photo of her. Like, I just have to get her in my garage, which was my studio at the time, and get this photo. And I took this photo of her, and she has the most happy face, and she just has like this lit up look about her. And it was like, wow, like once she actually passed away, it's like we printed this picture and we put it on the casket, and it was like, that's Yaya. Like, that's our grandma. Like, this joyful, happy spirit looking towards the light. And it was like, you didn't realize how important those photos were, but once you have them or the audio recordings, you're like, wow.
Yeah. And like I pictures of them like I guess we were in Riverside because myself and my dad first came here, and then we Airbnb'd a bit.
Oh, nice.
In Riverside. So Riverside was beautiful, by the way. And then out of nowhere, he saw like a nice tree and like lush grass and stuff, and he's like, take me a picture.
Oh. I get you. Yeah, I'm like, I already know. Yep.
Oh my God, take me a picture. And he's like, it was during the point where like he was sort of, he needed to use the cane, not like, it wasn't like crouching so much, but he needed to use the cane because he had, I believe, just recently went through a stroke or something.
Oh, I see.
So, he needed a cane to get around.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it was like a normal lean. So he so he had that cane and he's like, take me a picture. And it looks so like everything. It looks so picture perfect.
Right.
Like what he was wearing, he loved wearing his plaid shirts.
Nice.
His cap.
Mm-hmm.
And then his sneakers and stuff. Just like
they're important.
Yeah. And I look back at it now and I'm like these little things that used to be the highlight of his life. Like he loved nature.
Yeah.
He loved watching nature shows.
Oh wow.
There used to be a show called Wild America, and he used to love that. He used to love when the presenter's name was Marty. He used to love when Marty used to talk about like the birds and what they did and how they hunt and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So he really loved nature, birds, and everything.
Wow.
So
he sounds like a really wholesome guy. He has a good taste of food. He had a good taste of style, it sounds like, and nature is beautiful. So it's like, okay, I like him too.
Yeah, he's, like I said, he used to get on my nerves.
Of course.
Stuff. He had me like doing or not doing, but yeah, overall I'd say sometimes he didn't used to be a fan of seasoning.
Oh really?
It used to be like too much to bear for him.
Oh okay.
So he's like, Mama, just plain. I'm like, okay, you say so. Sugarless, saltless,
spiceless piece of meat.
Okay. He used to love oatmeal a lot.
Yeah.
Because I guess as he got older, he used to like tend to, go for things that don't require a lot of chewing.
For sure, the softer stuff.
Definitely. So he used to love fish, oatmeal. He used to be so into chocolate cookies. He was diabetic too. He's like, I know it's bad for me, but Tayseer, can they have a little piece? I'm like,
I guess.
Have it all.
I love it. Yeah.
You got me like in my feelings right now.
No. I mean, hey, it's how it goes with conversation sometimes, especially when you talk about, I think, family and growing up, it's one of those things where you're like, it brings back
it has to, like
mixed memories for sure.
For better or worse, it
Right.
just triggers something within you.
Yeah.
Like digging in for my tissue right now.
No, you're good.
But
Well, you came prepared because I'm like, I don't have. My eyes were starting to kind of like do a little thing, and I was like,
Shoot.
okay.
I have some in my bag extra, but yeah.
I love
I
it.
gotta like, they say no, but
I mean, it's hard.
it's hard.
It's definitely not an easy thing, and I don't think it's something, people who tell you gotta grieve quick and just like, be done with it and move on. It's like everyone's got a different path.
And like even though it's been like a year and a half right now, but it doesn't feel like any less hard.
Of course. Yeah.
Some would argue, oh, it should be, but I mean, can you put a time limit on that? Can
Right.
you really?
No.
Yeah.
You definitely can. Let alone when it's people who have been a pretty big impact in your life. It's kind of like, it's rough, It's definitely rough. But and that's the annoying part of life. Is like, well, I'll have to go through it at some point.
Yeah.
And have to
So
deal
you gotta
with more people. And
it's like an inevitable part of life.
Right.
Can you swerve or no?
No. Right. I want to swerve it, but it's
Yeah.
like,
You can't.
it's
So,
rough.
It
It's
is
rough.
rough. And like, again, at times my dad did like, I want to say like he kind of hindered me from like living life properly.
Yeah.
Honestly speaking, like
Mhm.
I gotta just bring out the good with the bad.
Of course.
So he did hinder me, and that's why like now at my young age or young old age, I'm kind of like playing catch up right now
Yeah.
with just trying to get established,
Right.
career wise,
Mhm.
life, even
Right.
social life.
Yeah.
I didn't used to have much of a social.
Yeah.
So now it's like, playing catch up, and sometimes it feels like I'm really lacking,
Mhm.
or really behind, but I mean, in the end, I believe everyone moves at their pace. There shouldn't be like a set rule or like some rule book like by age 20 you gotta do this or
Right.
else you're
No.
a failure.
No.
Or by age 40 you gotta be, in this sort of position, or
Right.
like you're doomed to fail. No. So.
And what I like to see is those time and time again examples of people who make it to their goals older in life. There's a very big misconception in life of just like, you gotta be 25, you gotta be 30, and if you don't have it by 30, you better settle for a job because that's where you're gonna
If
be.
you don't have a baby by that age, or like a white picket fence and
Right.
a loyal husband, then
You are trash. It's like,
Yeah.
wait, there's so many different paths that you can take, and like, I don't know if you watch Squid Games, but I watched Squid
I
Games.
haven't.
I loved it. It was a great, it was a messed up show, but it was a great show.
So I heard of it.
But the guy who wrote it, passed it at 50 years old,
Wow.
and it's just like, he said that he was sitting there and shopping this story around for 10 years. And it's like, if he would have stopped, he would have never had this show, he wouldn't have had the success that he had, all that sort of stuff. And it's just
and stuff.
persist, keep doing what you gotta do, and like, your time will come when your time will come, Do the things you enjoy in life, I think, is like so important, and definitely my philosophy on
Get to
everything.
it, and like don't let anything hinder you, because
Yeah.
you never know. So
Yeah.
Just like love hard,
Mm-hmm.
make a lot of bonds, bond with people,
For sure.
interact,
Right.
show a lot of love, support,
Yeah.
and the rest will follow.
Absolutely. I love it. We had a great
This is amazing.
conversation.